Good afternoon. This is Mike McCoo for Selectmen calling to order the special meeting of the Willington Board of Selectmen on July 8th, 2026 at 1:38 p.m. In attendance, since this is a Zoom-only meeting, all three selectmen are in attendance on Zoom, along with Sherry, the finance manager, and Chief Moore from Willington Fire Department number one. Um, okay, so hang on now. I just hid my agenda under something. Hang on. Okay. Anyone present to speak? All right, we'll take that as a no. Old business. Discuss transfer station fees. We don't obviously don't need to make any decisions on this, but it is related to this budget discussion. I've had lengthy discussions with Troy, even more so since our meeting the other night. He's talked with the staff that work at the transfer station. We've been looking at the tipping. As I said the other night, we're sending 30 to 40 tons of bulk a week out, which is pretty expensive. The prices are going up. And the consensus from all the people who work there is that the average citizen from Willington is really only coming a few times a year with enough bulk to get their card punched. Um, and that I guess we'd say the above average citizen who's using it is using it to an extent where some of them quite obviously are businesses, even though they're not necessarily admitting that. Um, and some of them, in fairness, are saying, this is business, I'll pay, or this is an extra load this week, I'll pay. Their punch card is filled up or whatever. But there's a lot of potential for abuse. And so what happens is the tonnage is very high, which we're paying for, and the enforcement of the $50 for extra loads is low, which means that, cost and revenue are going in different directions. Um, as far as what would be an effective game plan, again, we don't have to decide on it today, but the consensus so far amongst the people who work there is right now you essentially get 52 times a year. You get once a week that you can come with 3 cubic yards, which was determined to be a completely full pickup truck load as a reasonable measure. Um, so um, if we propose to the people who work there, do you think that the average Willington citizen would be okay with only being able to do that once a month? They said, well, most would be, but it might be a little iffy. Maybe once a month, going from 52 options down to 12 might be cutting a little too much. So maybe we start off with allowing twice a month. So you still would be allowed the same cubic yardage for free, but instead of 52 weeks a year, you would be allowed 24 times, so roughly in half. Um, and the hope is that that would start showing a difference in our bulk tonnage. And if people really needed to go over that, they'd pay the $50 for an extra load, which would bring a little bit of revenue. And it hopefully allows enough opportunities that people don't start dumping on the side of the road. So I think, I guess that's somewhere in the conversation we should be having. Again, like I said, there's no need for an answer today, but we do need to be thinking about it because our game plan here is we're cutting out some of the budget and then hope to replace it with revenue or reduce tipping.
Right. Mike, how many of local businesses are registered with the town clerk?
Oh, I don't know that answer.
I didn't think you would have the answer. I'm just curious. I know for specific other reasons, I had to register my business name with the town clerk,
Hmm.
which I did. Um, I don't know about home improvement contractors of that sort. Um, Obviously, if they're a home improvement contractor, they have hopefully have a state license.
Yes.
And where I'm coming, the angle that I'm approaching this at is that's a business,
Right,
and it's not necessarily uh, debris bulky coming from Wilmington as much
right.
as it could be from out of town.
Mhm.
And that I think is an appropriate situation where they should be helping us defray the cost of emptying that dumpster.
Right. I think that's a good point. I think,
I
the
don't
intention is that no commercial ever is supposed to go into the transfer station.
understood, but I think that gets stretched just a tad.
Hmm,
You can
yes,
certainly see vehicles with business names stenciled on them unloading material that is like in kind for the business they conduct, like electricians unloading boxes of empty uh, containers of that clearly are electrical components. So that's a fairly deep connection to the business and the dumping. I was thinking about what John TN said about seeing out of state plates. You don't have to be a resident in town to have a dump permit. You just have to be a taxpayer. Is that correct? Like a person living in
um,
Massachusetts could own a home in Connecticut and they would get a dump permit. I mean, own a home in Wilmington and they'd get a permit with their tax bill.
well, I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but essentially, if you're a landlord and you own a home in Wellington, if you're a landlord, then you're a business. So that's one way. If you just happen to own two houses, you're lucky enough to do that, and you have your, I don't know, your winter houses in Wellington and your summer houses somewhere else, and
Right.
you choose your summer house as your residence address, then, I think people have always been pretty flexible at the transfer station about allowing you to get a sticker if you bring some information that proves you have a residence in town. I
Well, it
don't
comes
remember
with,
exactly how it's worded,
but
which
it
again,
comes
I
with the
think is
tax.
why we would need to have a meeting about getting these details really pinned down.
Yeah,
Because I
yeah, yeah.
think you bring up a good point. How do we differentiate those?
Well, the new permit comes with your tax bill. So if you got a house and you're paying taxes, you're going to get a permit, and you can
Uh,
stick it on your vehicle
No,
regardless.
you don't. Not
Not
every
anymore, Andy.
not every
Oh, you
tax
don't?
bill gets a permit in it. No.
Oh, okay.
No, I had to ask for my bulky. No, actually, it was my sticker.
All right. Well, the last sticker I have, I got from my tax bill, so maybe I haven't changed it properly.
Yeah, the stickers, normally you get your sticker at the transfer station and you get your bulky permit with your
Ah,
tax bill, but the bulky permit doesn't even go with every tax bill.
all right.
It goes, they actually sort through, they have a list based on residents.
Ah, okay. Cool. Well, that's tighter then. That's good.
Yeah.
And do we have the capacity to enforce? I mean, you go up there a lot of times and people are driving in and out, and there's not an attendant looking at every
Hmm.
car.
That
So,
was a lengthy discussion with Troy also that we we would have some management that would need to be addressed.
interesting.
Yeah, there's been numerous times when I've been up there that the attendants are otherwise occupied
They are. They're
or
busy.
doing paperwork in the
Mhm.
office,
Yeah.
and there's um,
Yeah.
nobody looking over, just kind of overseeing
Yeah.
what's get
Yeah, if they're
what
in the office writing a receipt or whatever, yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, busy days, you need somebody posted right at the gate practically looking for a sticker.
Well, we've done a couple audits over the years at the
Mhm.
gate.
Yep.
You didn't get in unless you had a sticker, and if you didn't
All
have a
right.
sticker but you lived in town, then you had to get one.
Yep.
I mean, that's a nasty job if you work there,
It
con
is.
confronting a taxpayer about whether or not they have the right to use the facility.
Right. Well, and it's
Oh,
particularly hard if you just do an occasional audit because it's a surprise to people and you had 6 months or 2 years or 5 years where no one checked.
all
Right.
right.
And now it's a culture shock. Um, that's why some towns have the shack when you first come in. So
Right.
everybody gets checked when they come in the gate and it keeps it more forefront in people's minds that I'm going to get checked every time, but that requires a different configuration of the space. We don't have a shack right at the entrance.
Right.
Do we have a camera at the entrance, Mike?
I don't know. There are some cameras up there and I don't know exactly what they cover, but I do know there's cameras up there because I know of incidents of people getting caught climbing over the gates, going in after hours and stuff like that. So,
They keep an eye on the dumpsters.
I mean, if we had a camera on the gate, time lapse that captured only based on motion, what would it do? Well, that could give you an opportunity to go back at someone who probably shouldn't be coming in there, and then that becomes an administrative nightmare.
mm,
Who's going to sit down and review the tape
right.
recording?
So I think the easier part of the conversation is that we probably can reduce the amount of free trips to the bulk by some reasonable number, whether it's the 24 twice a month or whatever. And again, we're not agreeing on it today. I'm just saying I
No,
think
I
that's the
understand.
easier part of it. Um, the more
I think that's
complicated
fair.
part is some of this enforcement stuff and how we configure the operation up there. Um, and
I
we
I think
may
that's
have to take some of the load off of the people who work there by handling some of this administratively, whether it's Public Works or the Selectman's office or whatever notifies these people that the staff there are quite sure are businesses. They see a certain type of material coming off the truck every week. Um, and that's the type of business those people are in, as was stated already.
Mhm.
And we're just going to have to step up that
Mhm.
because right now every taxpayer is paying for it and the business is not.
Right. Well, I think going to 12 times a year is reasonable. Most of the time when I have stuff in bulky waste is because I'm not quite sure where it goes.
Mm,
It's small enough to fit in regular trash, but they like it in bulky waste because of the compaction and different reasons. So it's usually
yeah.
one-offs. I haven't had a whole truckload in quite some time. So
Yeah,
Yeah, and Troy talked about it. People wouldn't, it's not like if you came up with something the size of a shoebox or a cement block that you would get punched your card for that.
right, that's right.
Something little like that is just, that's a freebie. Throw it in there and go.
Yep.
It's really when you get up to maybe like half of a pickup truck load, you should start
Sure.
getting charged.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that's fair.
so the people who every once in a while do a little project at home and have some debris from that project, will be barely impacted at all.
Hmm. Hey, you could stretch it out over a couple of months if you had to.
Yeah.
yeah. If you can carry it with one hand and throw it in a bulky dumpster,
Right. Yeah,
what,
that's
what,
usually more
We also
organization.
talked about putting a little at the guardrail there, putting like yellow rope with two stanchions coming out that shows what the size of that 3 cubic yards is as
Oh
a
yeah.
model, just so people could see it visually right there. This is 3 cubic yards.
Hmm.
Um,
That's a lot of that's
just to help
quite a
with
bit.
people understanding um, what the rule they're trying to adhere to.
Yeah.
All right, is that enough on this topic for now for discussion, or does anyone have any more? All right, let's move on. General government budget discussion. The first thing I want to tell you guys is working more with Sherry after our meeting the other night, I made a miscalculation on the employee insurance.
Okay.
I was looking at an earlier document where um, we had saved enough money for one employee and family, and I said we could take that out. We had already taken it out in the budget process in between. So that $30,000, if we take that out now, we would essentially under budget that account um, by 30,000. So since we know what insurance will cost, it's probably not logical for us to intentionally under budget that account. since we're committed to paying for the insurance for people.
Right.
Right.
It's an obligation. Um, so we're gonna have to find that 30,000 in some other places. Um, I did look at the dog fund, and again, we don't have to do the exact items yet. I just want to kind of get the conversation going. I think there's definitely a little more wiggle room in the dog fund. Um, and we could, um, we could look at some departments. It's going to be hard to find another $30,000, but we have to. It's what the taxpayers have approved.
Right.
And we could basically look at a couple places where maybe we have work, part-time workers, where we could reduce that budget some with the expectation of A, either their hours would be reduced during the year, or B, during the year, as we see revenue, we may be able to amend, do a budget adjustment, which does happen during the year, and refund that budget later in the year if we're seeing better revenue, unexpected, unplanned revenue. Um, we have sometimes we get a big building permit in that no one was planning on, and you get a nice boost out of
Mhm.
that. Um,
Yeah, the truck wash permits may move forward this year, depending
yeah.
on how planning and zoning acts on that.
Is that hearing still open?
Yes,
I figured it would be.
that was continued to their next meeting.
Okay.
I sat through it last night.
Yeah. So, on that line, I mean, it certainly sends a scary message to that employee if we shorten their budget and say, you may run out of hours. Um, but, we have to find the money somewhere. And, for example, we have a very short period of time right now that Sherry's old position of, um, accounting assistant is not filled. So like right now, technically today, we're saving a day of salary today, right?
Right,
Because there's nobody in that job.
right.
Right.
So we could short the accounting services overall budget. We can't really select the line item, but our intent would be that we assume some salary savings until that job is filled, and we could short the department by a certain amount and then look to replenish it during the year if revenue justifies it.
Is
Um,
it imperative that that position gets filled?
yeah. Um,
It is. Okay.
yeah, I
Yes,
mean
yes,
they're behind.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. Yes.
The treasurer, Lori is our new treasurer, and she came to me Monday and said she can't complete some of the normal treasury work because the accounting office is behind because they're three instead of four right now. Um,
Understood.
so, we would like when we do the promotion or the hiring or whatever, we replace Sherry at the assistant position. We may have to look at, okay, well, maybe depending on what the new person is coming in at for a rate, and what their working test period is, we may save enough salary money during that time period that we make up the difference anyway. Or we just may have to, do the hiring, and fund the rest of the hours later in the year. From other parts of the budget in that department. If we don't get the revenue, we're gonna have to find the money from transfer.
hmm Well, I mean that senior center fuel oil or heating oil line item is something that
Yeah, Sherry, have you had a chance yet to figure out why that is showing that much money?
So what number are you seeing when you say it's showing so much money?
So if you go to, am I on the right page now?
Page 10 on the,
All right,
in
I'll
the
give you the
on-demand
line in a
report.
second, Sherry. I have to get to
Okay.
the,
Page 10, the fifth item up, fifth or sixth item, item up, sixth item up from the bottom, I think.
okay, so Sherry, are you ready to
Okay.
take the line number?
Yep.
011-0185-0100-624.
Okay. I know that we spent about $5,889 on heating oil for the senior center. There is a discount that I have to make sure is applied correctly. So it's a little bit less than that. I think what was budgeted for last fiscal year is pretty spot on. And what's budgeted for this current now that we're in fiscal year is a little bit less because of we got a good rate on heating oil that we're locked into. So we buy a set number of gallons, and then what isn't used is returned at the end of the year. And that's where the discount comes into play. Um, but it's not if we go over, then we spend more.
Okay, so Sherry, looking at fiscal 26,
Okay.
um, the entry looks weird, and maybe it's because of the rebate you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a huge
Um,
rebate applied to that line item. I need to make an adjustment to split it out because it should go to the other heating oil for public works. Um, I think for our town office building.
okay, so it has not been divided to all the
It hasn't.
departments
It was
yet.
just it was all put in that senior center line item and it should have been split among at least three or four. And I want to make sure I get the right percentage that's fair for each when I
Okay.
split it up.
I know that's a weird one because
Yeah.
we get the oil in bulk and then we
Yeah.
have to reapportion it internally as an accounting adjustment.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So, what you're thinking is the number budgeted for the new fiscal year should be pretty close. There's not a lot of
Yeah,
wiggle there.
exactly. Yep.
Um, all right. So Sherry, if we go back to, um, if we go back to the first selectman's budget, 0111 department,
Okay. Yep.
right now, when I did the report on June 30th for the outgoing fiscal year, I was showing a surplus of 7,400. I'm not sure what that number is now, but I also know that town office operations are way over budget. So I assumed that money was going to go to town office operations.
Yeah, most likely.
So, um, I guess we could, if the first selectman's office ran with a balance at the end of the outgoing fiscal year, then there may be a little bit of wiggle left in the new year because we kept it as a zero increase in the new year. So, well, we're gonna have cost escalations. So I wouldn't say that it's a true that whole 7,400 is over budget, but maybe we could take like 2,500 or $3,000 out of first selectman. Sherry, are you doing any checking on that, or are you just listening to me propose ideas?
A little bit of both.
Okay, I just didn't want to wait for you if you
Yeah.
weren't. Could you look at fiscal 26
Yeah.
for selectmen, the 0111?
One. Yeah. Okay. All right, the total expenses I have spent on 0111 are 156, almost 157,000.
All right, so that remaining 7425 is roughly accurate. I have a balance of 7425.40.
Okay.
All right, so if I pencil in my mind, I pencil in taking 3,000 out of that. Let's see.
How about revenue collection assistant? Looks like we're
That's
gonna have a
that's
surplus
what
there.
that's what that was one of the ones I was talking about a little bit earlier, possibly. Let's see what here.
It's showing 7,500 and change. No, it's not to say we won't need that next, in the 26-27 budget.
Right.
Well, and I also know the revenue assistant, there were periods of time where we didn't have one in
Oh,
between
No, understood.
with the turnover.
Correct.
you don't remember when he started, do you, Sherry?
No, I don't. No, I don't remember.
Um, all right, so what I've penciled in so far on my thoughts are we take 3,000 out of first select. No one needs to write this down right now because I have them all written. Unless you want to, of course, but 3,000 out of first selectman, 7,000 out of revenue collector, another 5,000 out of dog fund because we already had 10. I think we can squeeze another 5. And that puts me at 10. That puts me at 15 out of the 30. So we got to find another 15 grand.
Did we talk about registrar collection and training last night? Because those are under budget. And I wasn't early voting.
They're under budget, but they went so over on and their expenses are still coming in with the extra
Okay.
referendums.
I guess that is what we talked about. Thank you. I couldn't
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
Um,
some of those haven't been reconciled yet, so that's
Mike,
fine.
yeah, because you don't get the movement between the line items yet until until we square up each department's budget,
Yeah.
which will happen probably in August, right, Sherry?
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I know we touched that. I couldn't remember how we
Mike, you
did that.
might also look at assistant land use agent.
Yeah.
We were taking 5,000 out of the department,
Yep,
the 0171, which is showing a surplus of 12, almost 13,000.
yep.
We have a surplus for assistant land use agent of 7,900.
I did make a note about that with a question mark on it. Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
so
Sherry, were we without Evelyn for part of this year,
I think
this
we were.
past year?
Um, I know that she did take leave for a little while. I can't remember if we had someone fill in while she
Yeah,
was
because she
out.
had did what she had
Um,
like maternity or something, right?
yeah, she did.
Um,
All right, let,
So let's do, and I mean, that's a department that has that has a legit revenue source, which is the building permits. Where do we show those, Sherry, that revenue from the building permits? Where does that go back into the budget? Does it go back in at the general fund, or is it shown as a revenue for that department, or what?
It's shown as revenue. Um,
Or maybe on the building official?
it's it's revenue for license fees and permits.
Okay, gotcha. So maybe what we should do, since that department has the revenue sources, we should take the remaining 15 from um if we take the remaining from planning and zoning, that would probably easily be made up later in the year with a budget adjustment due to revenue if we have unexpected revenue. And if that doesn't occur, then at least it's a department with a part-time employee. If we had to cut hours, which I obviously don't want to do, but if we had to cut hours, it's easier to cut a part-time employee than someone who's on contract with the union as a full-time employee. Although that would mean cutting planning and zoning by 20,000. That's a lot.
mhm.
That's a lot.
Maybe I'll just add 10,000 for my notes right now, and then we'll find another five.
How much did you take out of accounting services?
Nothing yet. Well, no, I'm sorry. We had seven on the list, 7,000 from the other night.
Okay.
So that's what is on the tentative list for today is 7,000. That
Okay.
was from your suggestion.
Yeah, I think we could do a little more.
Okay. What do you want to bump that up to?
Oh. So we have 7 so far. Um, I think we could bump it up to 12.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So that leaves us needing to find $3,000, right? I believe. 10, 15, 25. Oh no, we've got more than we need. Hang on, hang on. Let me make sure my math is right here. We are trying to replace the 30,000 from insurance. So 5 for the dog fund, 7 for revenue collector, 3 for first selectman. That's 15 there. Another 10 for planning and zoning is 25. So yeah, okay. Right. So that other 5 from you, Sherry, that puts us at the 30. Okay. Do you guys want me to just run over the list of what I think we're at for each department right now?
Well, let's compare it to what's on the agenda, Mike, to start with.
Yes, that's what I mean.
And
So if you look at
add or strike out as need be once we get to
hmm,
the end of that list,
yeah,
okay?
yeah, so let's go down that list. So the first one we had was accounting services. Strike the 7 grand and put 12 grand instead. Assessor, we left at 2,500. Planning and zoning, strike the 5, make it a 15.
Hmm.
Fire protection, this was basically because
AED.
there were the AEDs, right? So 3,000 there. Fire department 1, 2,500. Willington Hill Fire Department 2,500. Transfer station 7,500. And then dog fund, strike the 10,000 and make it 15,000. Employee insurances, we're striking that completely. And then we added Department 139, I think it is, or 137, revenue collector. Let me just make sure I got the department number right there. Yeah, 137, revenue collector for 7,000. And Department 111 for selectmen 3,000. Is anyone adding that, or shall I?
No, I wasn't tracking all the way through, so it's up to you, Mike.
All right, I'm gonna do it right now. So, accounting services 12. Assessor 2,500. Planning and zoning 15,000, I should say. The poor money per people here. Don't use shortcuts. Fire protection for the AEDs 3,000. FD1 2,500. Wellington Hill FD 2,500. Transfer station 7,500. Dog fund 15,000. Revenue collector 7,000. And first selectman 3,000. Equals 70,000. So that's our 70,000 reduction right there. What are you guys thinking?
Gotta take it out of somewhere.
I haven't got any better ideas, Mike.
Oh, me neither.
Yeah, I think as we've talked about a little bit, and Chief Moore can tell you, sometimes we're at Board of Finance meetings during budget season and the board has to cut some things back and they say, if you have a problem during the year, you got to come back to us. We'll make an adjustment if we need to, or we'll go to the taxpayers or whatever. Willington One has had to do it with a major repair on trucks, and I think Willington Hill's probably done it once or twice also. It's not that we should be planning a budget that way, but sometimes that's the necessity.
Correct. And
Chief Moore, since you're here, any input? You may not be listening at the moment.
yeah. Well, we're running with an interim or
Sorry, I was trying to unmute.
That's okay.
What was the question?
Just any thoughts on where we are on things right now? I had just said that, sometimes we've unfortunately had to tell departments, we know we're cutting you tight. You'll have to come back during the year if things are bad. Both fire departments, I think, have done it. And plus, since you were here, if you had any other wisdom you wanted to offer.
No, other than, tight's not even a word right now because of the maintenance costs. Chief Snyder and I talked yesterday about it, and that's really where it's going to hurt both departments. But
yeah, we broke a valve the other day on ET 149. That's a $3,000 valve.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those circumstances. We understand it, but it's not ideal.
It is not.
The AED one worries me a little bit just because we did place an order for new AEDs. I did not know that was getting cut. So I'm trying to get that off of last year's budget.
Yeah, because there's still quite a bit in the outgoing.
Yep. So I should be okay, but just it might be tight.
Okay. Yeah, if you we haven't completely closed the previous fiscal year yet, so if if we can work that out and get it right.
Yep. So it should be okay. It's just it'll be close.
The other thing we can do is look at what goes into Fund 18 this year, that if there's anything left, like
Yep.
the AED money from the outgoing year might be able to go into Fund 18
Right.
and then be pulled back up to pay for stuff in the new year.
Right. Okay. That works for me.
Sherry, any more thoughts?
Not really. I mean, it's going to be tight, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. We'll figure it out.
We're still, uh, Sherry, and I know I've asked this a bunch. Any idea what was left over from last year or where we are?
No, I
Is,
don't.
or
It's
if
gonna.
Rasheen's been able to make that transfer for ESO to Fund 17?
I will have to talk with her and let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little tricky to balance two jobs at once.
I absolutely understand. We're just that we have one last outstanding bill that we need to pay, and I
Yeah.
can't do it without those being done.
Okay.
So
Okay. All right.
thank you.
All right. No problem.
Okay. Andy and Ralph, any last comments before I start doing motions?
Just that I believe that the voters fully understand that with a reduction in a budget, there will be a reduction in services. And if certain
Yeah.
things can't get accomplished, if residents are calling about trees to be cut that are threatening their yards or whatever, and Public Works doesn't have the money to do it, it doesn't get done, or whatever that
Yeah.
is. I'm not picking on Public Works, but it is a large
Right.
portion of the budget. And all those other little things that we're cutting, whether it's planning and zoning or whatever, could impact residents. And
Mhm.
I don't, not that it's a gotcha moment, but I think people do have to be reminded that, well, it's because there isn't any money in the budget to fund that.
Right.
And I don't think that's wrong to remind the residents that, as you know, that those votes matter. That they're
Yeah.
not, they're we are. It's a collaborative effort between all the different branches of government, including the legislature, which is the townspeople, and they have to recognize that they're responsible for this as much as we are.
Mhm.
And I think that's fair. And I'm a taxpayer too, so I get that.
Yep.
So yes, we don't like to do this, but I don't think we shouldn't be feeling guilty about it. It's not our fault that we have to make these cuts. It's just it's the sign of the
Right.
times, and
Yep.
that's
It's
the
the will
job.
of the people.
That's right. It's the will of the people that we're executing,
Mhm.
not necessarily our own personal views.
Right.
Well, it's the will of the people, and it's also the economy and how it affects everything too.
Of
So,
course. Yeah, that's right.
I
Yep.
mean, every taxpayer who's complaining about having to pay more for their sustenance and what have you, has to understand that same situation applies to the government.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. And yeah. Yep.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll start doing motions.
Can it just be a general motion based on what was just reported?
I think I'll do each department number because I just want to
Okay.
make sure it's recorded that way.
Gotcha.
Since the Board of Finance approved each of those by department.
I understand.
Okay. That
I would
makes
love to
sense.
just do it as presented. It would be a
Yeah,
lot
I'm
quicker.
sure you would.
No, I think doing it by line item, I think that's the right course of action.
Well, so what I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna do a sort of a hybrid is I'm gonna do one motion, but I'll say each department with its reduction.
Perfect.
Does that seem like a good compromise?
Sure does.
Fair enough. As long
Okay.
as every department is recorded in the minutes, we're good.
And I will make sure of that. Yep. Okay. So I move that we reduce the general government budget by a total of $70,000 as follows. Department 111, First Selectman, reduced by $3,000. Department 130, Accounting Services, reduced by $12,000. Department 131 Assessor, reduced by $2,500. Department 137 Revenue Collector, reduced by $7,000. Department 171 Planning and Zoning, reduced by $15,000. Department 232 Fire Protection, reduced by $3,000. Department 232 Willington Fire Department number 1, reduced by $2,500. Department 232 Willington Hill Fire Department, reduced by $2,500. Department 351 Transfer Station, reduced by $7,500. Department 511 Dog Fund, reduced by $15,000. That's it.
I second.
Okay, further discussion?
I have nothing.
Me neither.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Mike McCoo, I vote yes.
Andy Marco votes yes.
Ralph Tillis, yay.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you for the tough work, team. Sherry, thank you for the support. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I second.
All right, all those in favor say aye and goodbye.
Aye and
Later.
goodbye.
The meeting is adjourned at 2:25 p.m.
Adios.
Adios.
See you all later.